could have put the blood of the lamb over their doorsteps to have the angel of death pass over them.
Was everyone told of this?
Yes.
Were the Jews told? Were all the Egyptians told?
Anybody who wanted to listen to was told. The Pharaoh was the one that told people not to believe it.
And why? Okay. And why did God then go ahead and kill these people? He couldn't. God is not smart enough to come up with a better plan to free his chosen people than to kill innocent children.
Because the children were chosen that way from the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh chose the last plague, and if you notice, he was given 9 chances beforehand to release the Jews.
And they were also terrible plagues brought by God. And this God was apparently unable.
Yeah. Well, in each instance, God hardened the heart of the Pharaoh. If you read the Bible, you can see it in there. You're dissembling the story. You're making stuff up that isn't in the Bible. The Bible clearly says the Pharaoh's heart was hardened against the commands of Yahweh. That is, are you telling me I'm lying? Am I a liar?
I'm not saying you're a liar.
Okay. Well, good. You agree with me.
Each person's belief. But
so you believe it's just fine for a being to slaughter innocent children to make a point?
No, I don't believe it is. All right for that to happen.
Then who killed the children? Who actually did the killing?
Death.
And under whose direction?
God or Yahweh, whatever you want to believe.
God killed the innocent children. So you're condoning. You are condoning the murder of innocent children. Just to make some kind of religious point.
There wasn't a religious point. It was the freedom of the Jews. They were enslaved.
And the God that you worship, was completely unable to think of a better way to get his people out of slavery than to murder innocent children. Thousands of innocent children. That's what you're saying.
Okay,
and you not only that, but you think it was a good idea.
It wasn't God's choice. And
God doesn't have a choice? God?
No.
God had no choice?
Pharaoh chose the last plague.
God had no choice but to go along with this?
We can get into this.
This is unbelievable.
We can get into this on the next show, because I have dozens of quotes that proves this guy is wrong.
What about Pharaoh, the Ramses the First, killing all the firstborn Jews?
We're not condoning that. That was a horrible crime. It was the same. It was just as horrible when God did it to the Egyptians.
The Passover never happened. The Exodus never happened. The Jews were never in slavery in Egypt. There's nothing in any Egypt literature that shows that the Jews ever lived there at all. There's nothing in there.
There's historians who found chariot tracks in the Sea of Reeds.
That's baloney. That's a myth. That's another lie that's put forth by fundamentalists.
Where is the historical evidence for that?
How do you know the chariot wheels were owned by any particular people?
It's in the museums in Egypt, in Cairo.
No, it isn't.
That there's chariot pieces were found in the sea?
That's a fundamentalist BS story that they put out to as a way of deluding people.
Fundamentalist? Well,
yeah, fundamentalist, right.
Fundamentalist.
I read the fundamentalist literature on this subject, and that's what they say.
You probably wrote it.
Oh, yeah, right.
I think this fella here who wrote this article, he said something at the very end that I think actually really pertains to this discussion that we're having. And he said, for all that atheists are accused by apologists of taking the Bible out of context, it's actually theists who often fail to appreciate the importance of context. Not just Passover, but many biblical tales. Abraham and Isaac, Noah's flood, the crucifixion of Jesus are treated as beautiful stories only by suppressing their ugly side. And we've seen this time and time again. This so-called evidence, when you really check into it, it's fabricated. It's simply not true.
Well, yeah, there's a million excuses they have. You have the wrong translation.
Right.
You don't know you don't know what this word means.
Well, I'm not saying that I believe the Bible verbatim, and it's not meant to be a guide for life. It's meant to be a help, but not take it literally.
Well, how do you know which part?
Why does killing children help anybody?
Because I know it's true because of the historical fact. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the writings.
The Dead Sea Scrolls don't have anything to do with the Exodus, I don't think.
No.
So you're saying the Exodus never happened?
there's no evidence
there's
for
no
it. I mean,
historical evidence.
there's a story written in a fairy tale book, but there's no concrete evidence that it ever happened. I mean, if they claim that 2 million people went across, sir, if they claim that 2 million people went across the desert and there's no archaeological evidence for it, that the absence of evidence is evidence of absence. There's no such thing as the Exodus.
And there actually isn't even evidence of so many as 2,000 people walking through the desert in the path.
You can read Biblical Archaeology Review. It's a well-known journal. It used to be for sale in Borders Bookshop, and Herschel Shank, I think, is the editor, and he went through a lot of different articles saying that there's no evidence for there's no archaeological evidence for the Exodus. And it's still on the internet. It's still on the internet
today. I don't know where you get your
today.
information from, but it did happen.
Well, look on the internet and see what you can find that opposes your opinion.
You can insist that it happened all you want, but that doesn't mean it happened. I mean, we have people. You know, I thank you, caller, for calling in. I just want to say, you know, I've been looking at. You know, we get this insistence a lot. It's just an entrenched insistence that the Bible is true, the stories are true.
Bible can't be wrong. Yeah.
And you know, and it doesn't matter what kind of evidence you have. It's not believed. It's not accepted. And this kind of off track just a little bit. But I've been watching, just out of curiosity, I've been watching some of these programs on the History Channel and some of the different 3 or 4 different history channels where they supposedly investigate Bigfoot and UFOs and the Loch Ness Monster and ghosts and whatever it is.
Well, people will believe anything. Where does the swine flu come from?
Well,
Canada.
Right. Well,
the U.S.
Well,
Asia.
On these programs, they talk to these people who are utterly convinced they were kidnapped by UFOs. You can't tell me any different. I was taken. I know what happened to me. I saw it. I saw the Bigfoot. I saw, you know, whatever it was.
By the way, I want to say one thing about the 1918 flu. It actually originated in Kansas, and not it wasn't the Spanish flu. See, that's how people get these rumors, and it has to be the Spanish flu. Why? Everyone says it's the Spanish flu, 1918, right? So it has to be that. Everyone says Exodus is in the Bible. It's got to be true. I know why, because I read the Bible, and the Bible tells me so.
Yes. Well, these people, they go through on these programs. They go through all these elaborate investigations and do allegedly scientific experiments, and they find a little bit of a whisper on a video, on an audio tape, or a shadow on a.
I'll go look up those chariot wheels.
And they come up with nothing. There is no evidence for any of this, and yet, as they close the program, they always talk to people who. It doesn't matter what you found or didn't find.
It's page 2 here of.
Go ahead.
Page 2 of 88 pages here.
Go ahead.
Why do you guys make fun of religion? We had a complaint, I think, a couple of shows ago.
We actually get that complaint quite.
We get it all the time. Well, let me read you this quote here. Ridicule is the only weapon which can be used against unintelligible propositions. And who said that? Thomas Jefferson.
And I think we need to make the point that we're not ridiculing anybody's right to hold any kind of belief that they wish. You have the absolute right to believe any ridiculous thing you want, but that doesn't mean. Okay, we do have a caller. That doesn't mean that the belief itself is above criticism or above ridicule if it deserves it.
You have a sensible view, yes.
Go ahead, caller. You're on the Free Thought Forum.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to know what book you read that said that there's no Jesus. So what book was that convinced you that there was no Jesus?
The Bible.
The Bible contradicts itself, so you can't have one story and another story that contradicts itself.
The story, I was going to say the story of Jesus, but you're right. There are several different stories of Jesus in the Bible, and they contradict each other. They conflict with each other. They don't add up to a coherent story.